playing drums. Speaking of class, it was a way to get out of class in the 5th grade.
Beautiful.
Like, hey, you want to play music? I was like, well, it was either music or like stay for extra math shit. So I was like, Got my very first drum set in the 8th grade. Because before that it was just a couple drums, like a few snare drums and a Corton that I just like would mess around on. And then a month later I started this band with this kid. That band was called Sport. It was like the high school band.
That was like central casting for high school band.
Yeah, totally.
Did you guys ever get really frozen embryos? Or what, man? Guitar heroes were Tony Iommi and Randy Rhoads and Alex Lifeson, pretty much. Eddie Van Halen. And I played in like crappy cover bands in high school that played like Kiss and AC/DC covers, like whatever was easy that we could figure out, you know, at the time. And then I moved to the Bay Area like right after high school, and that's when I first formed my first real band, which was called Madcap, and we played all over the Bay Area for a long time in the early 90s. And we were kind of a thrash metal band. I started playing music. I started playing guitar and singing in punk bands in high school, and eventually I found myself in that classic conundrum of like, oh, there's 3 guitar players and a drummer and a singer, and we're all going to start a band together, and that's going to be awesome. And so I ended up taking the grenade on that one. Because it seems kind of like
taking the grenade
to put it in the parlance of our time. I went for it, and it was a band called Death and Taxes, and like our singer was like a real Iggy Pop kind of like, but Scotty, you know, like upper Midwestern, like fucking nuts, I'm gonna jump off the speaker stacks, guys, you know, and like the other guys were more flashy, like lead players, so we kind of went for this Thin Lizzy kind of sound. And I played in bands, but it was always just more chunky and self-taught. Oh my gosh, pick up the bass, you know, and that kind of really stuck. Like I was like, oh, I'm much better at this than I am playing guitar. I should keep doing this. And here I am. I haven't found anything else I'm good at since. The first bass I ever played, I bought from an ex-bandmate for like, literally, I think I gave him $25 for it. Like, it was awful. And you learn to play really well on a terrible bass. Because like once you get a decent bass, you're like, oh, this is like, this is like butter.
This is so much easier. I guess you could say I sort of started playing music at 17, and the fact that I formed bands with my friend that had entire discographies and the artwork for every album planned out, but there wasn't a lick of actual music played for probably a good like year and a half after that. There's a guy I moved up to the Bay Area with from Modesto, where I'm from, and we had a sort of band of sorts, you could say that never really played shows. Again, legends in our own mind, mostly like playing garage and whatnot. Then I got to the point that I was actually starting to get like kind of okay at playing. I kind of liked the songs, wanted to share them with people. So I kind of wanted to find someone that wanted to like play shows and write songs and be a band. And so I met the drummer from my old band, Replicator, which I was in for about 8 years. That we did that, a lot of that. Made lots of records, toured a lot, did all those kinds of things that bands do. There's a lot of very cynical, jaded music out there that is very disaffected and detached. This is somewhat the opposite of that, and it's I don't think necessarily being engaged and sincere has to be cloying and terrible. It often is. But we're very sincere about making excellent rock music, or to our ears anyway.
You know, I like the idea of just making non-genre music that is honest, without being saccharine, sweet, and just kind of I think a lot of the most positive sounding music is some of the most insincere music, and we're trying to kind of bridge that a little bit to where it's still sarcastic and it still has like the view that a person of our ages should have on things, but without being cliches and without being, you know, defeatist.
I just want to throw down and rock. That's
That's kind of what like how I feel about it. Because I was playing in a few bands that were like were not like they're fun, but they're not rocking. For myself personally, I come from such a rock background, you know, drum wise, like that I kind of keep that.
Feelings
One of your record
about
players
downloading
broken.
because
Yeah.
on one hand, it will allow you to find new music that you've never heard before, and you'll download something that you would never have bought in a music store possibly, and find some amazing new music that way. On the other hand, it's just like Conan says, dilutes the feel,
You have all this music available to everyone all the time, always, and it means nothing because everything is available all the time, always. The record comes out, it's competing with all music that has ever existed now that came out during that week. People are just, it's become so easy to get that there's no, it's like you can download an entire discography of a band, listen to everything, process it, be like, okay, that was cool, burp, next, 44 albums of this band, okay, cool, I'll go process that. And it just doesn't mean anything. What does it mean? It means nothing. It's like, okay, maybe there's 2 songs that they'll listen to a second time, but there's just no patience anymore. And we're kind of, I don't know, we're sort of trying to deal with that and also kind of catering to the people that do still like listening to records.
3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
My mom works at Senior Center, and they have a jazz band there, and this guy didn't want these drums anymore, and she noticed I like tapping on things, and so she said, "Do you want some drums?" And I said, "Okay." So I took them home and figured out how to put them together and figured out how to play them. And my friends were starting a band in like 9th grade, and so they were like, "Oh, you have drums," and so I learned to play the drums for that.
I guess I was probably like 7 years old when I first thought I wanted to play music, and I went to the guitar shop probably when I was like 8 or 9 or something like that, and my parents went and then they told me I was too young to play guitar because my hands were too tiny. And then by the time I became like 13 or 14, my parents finally bought me one of those cheap Fender Squier packages that came with an amp, and then I just pretty much barely went to school. So then when Kern was in Davis, I was like bored and I just started calling him up. I was like, "Hey, we should jam." And we started playing together out while he was in Davis in like a garage where it was like 108 degrees every day. And then eventually, yeah, it was horrible. And then eventually he moved out here and started living with me, and then the band just kind of continued. So it's just been us two.
I guess we're working on recordings right now. In here, we've been doing them, and we've been adding overdubs onto stuff. So things that we can't do with 2 people, so we're kind of experimenting with that a lot, I guess.
I guess for me, well, it's very similar in the sense that like I want the record, you know, it's like something that you enjoy when you listen to at home, you know, it's like it's a much different experience, you know, with private listening. And then, you know, when you go to a show, a lot of people these days, you know, they expect because they pay, you know, however much money that you go up there and you play your exact song, right? It's exactly the same. So I because we don't have, you know, the, I guess, how do you say, other band members, I guess, we kind of just try to do it in a way that we find very engaging and like energetic live. So that's how we usually do it. So the record's a lot, I guess what I'm trying to get at is, well, we want the record to be something you can very much listen to and enjoy like in a different way, and then like the live show, you come to it because it's like a much different experience.
I like jazz a lot. Like that's I mean, I got my drums from this jazz guy who used to work for like the Fox movie orchestra or something like that. It was like The King and I. He was like on the soundtrack and everything. And so I listened to jazz a lot. I mean, there's some of the contemporary ones. Ari Honig is like one of my favorites. I love watching videos of him. And then some of the olders. I like Rashid Ali has a couple interesting duos like Frank Lowe, and then he does one with John Coltrane as well. Oh, I get back to contemporary, like Chris Corsano. He's really fun to watch because he plays the drums by himself a lot and he'll just perform by himself, and it's fun to like look at that.
So like my dad had an entire garage full of just rock and roll records, all British rock and roll actually, exclusively. And so everything from like, you know, Pink Floyd, the Stones, Beatles, and like that stuff really shaped me at a very young age, especially Elton John. And then probably I was about like, 7, and then I saw Elvis on TV, and I was just like, oh my god, I gotta be that guy. So Elvis was really cool, and then it kind of just like kept going for a while with like same rock and roll and just like, you know, stuff like that. And then I really got into like theme songs for like shows. Like I always thought that was really like almost like operatic, like cinematic kind of, you know. It's like has like a different element about it. And I guess once I combined all those elements, I kind of just like landed where I am now. So that's pretty much it.
You know, it's funny. The first time I played music was, or the thing that inspired me the most to play music early in my life that I can remember, is there was a spin-off of 90210 called The Heights, and it was starred Donna's boyfriend, and he was the leader of a band, and they had that song, "How do you talk to an angel? No, 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 no. How do I hold her close to where you are?" No, 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 no. Remember that riff?
No.
And Bad Cop. She was a good cop, really.
I was not allowed to watch
And
those.
yeah, they bought me an acoustic guitar, a classical guitar, and that was the first step.
I've been singing, I think, as soon as I could make sounds come out. I sang a lot with my mom growing up. I sang along to Michael Jackson songs, dancing in my playpen. I said his name before I said mom or dad, I'm pretty sure, so.
And it's a scary night and all I need to be alone. Lean off my shoulders, see that I'm not alone. And I'm so broke, I can't even.
We met in college.
On move-in day!
On move-in day, that's right. I was a bowlsman and she was a sternie, right? But you were...
Now everyone's gonna know.
Maybe we should edit that.
Yeah.
Yeah, we met in the dorms at UC Berkeley.
For sure.
Yeah, and it's...
On a roof, and some mixer.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Oh, this is all coming back.
Flashing back.
Yeah. And yeah, she had a great voice. I wasn't really doing musical stuff then. I was trying to figure out how to do it. I sort of like really have ownership of the project, and I'm trying to be clear about collaborating, and it's what's doing it that way rather than some of the other bands I've been in. It's been really successful, and it's so for me, my goals are to play a really great set or many sets at South by Southwest, get a song licensed. That would be a really big one. That would be a good one out there. And in a movie or TV show, and then to have either in any incarnation, me or Kia, either me alone or me with her, go international, travel internationally. For me, I think you just have to have a clear vision, like you said, a clear set of goals. And you really have to kind of break it down as far as like what you need to do to get to that thing, and set reasonable goals and then achieve them and then celebrate and really enjoy it. I think another thing is just having more fun, and like kind of letting go a little bit, and not stressing about every little detail of the performance, because that's not what the audience experiences. I think that's probably key. It's just focusing on like the audience and what they get from it, and rather than this sort of tortured singer like thing. Yeah.
The hardest part about making music is that I can't make music all the time.
That's the hardest thing about making music.
That's the only thing that I would change. The tough parts are of benefit. The really good parts, like the gravy parts, are of benefit. I just wish I could spend all of my time making music. But I mean, aside from that, recording can be challenging. Especially if you're not a band that records a lot, that can be just sort of a different environment to be in. I'm definitely looking forward to recording more of the stuff that we've done as Parentz, as a unit. I think that'll be helpful for us.
Yeah,
too.
It'll be really fun.
Yeah.
It wasn't the fantasy that we hoped for. Thought it was magic, how we were so close. I wanted this back, now for us both. Look, this I had it, and I'll just walk home. Ran into traffic, cause I was so slow. Over the head, and I guess you don't know. Ran around the block, and I'll take the bus home. You shouldn't be yourself. You're so oblivious, and I guess you couldn't tell. I must be out of my mind, or we could rise above. No, it was so nice to meet you. Before I knew you first, you all with fancy features, and still you never come. And when I tried to reach you, you just pretend that it was my fault. And when I said don't get the wrong impression, I couldn't be myself. I must have missed the message, must have been someone else. I didn't see the sign or read between the lines. In the back of my mind, I knew the whole time I wasn't sad to leave you. Don't act so damn apart. You must have seen this coming. You're riding on the wall, and when it's time to get going, just moving on that problem. And when I'm sad, I hope you go. It wasn't the fantasy that we hoped for. Thought it was magic, thought we were so close. I wanted this bad enough for a go-go. I thought I knew who you were. Now that we're over, I'm sleeping fine. And when I'm sad, I hope you go. It wasn't the fantasy that we hoped for. Thought it was magic, thought we were so close. I wanted this bad enough for a go-go. Oh, now you don't go. It wasn't the fantasy that we hoped for. Thought it was magic, thought we were so close. I wanted this bad enough for a go-go.
You came from a fairly creative background too. A lot of people don't know this, but Shane's dad was not only an actor that appeared in the Monkees as a sort of
SWAT,
supporting
all
player,
sorts of TV shows.
and other
actually.
TV shows along those lines.
TV shows.
But he was in the world's only werewolf motorcycle movie called Werewolves on Wheels.
This is true.
And Shane himself actually did some child acting as well.
It's true.
I did. I actually won the role of
That's
Danny
true.
in The Shining before the director scrapped it and took the cast elsewhere. So I was actually studying for the part for a while. Before.
You're serious
Uh,
about that?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's no bullshit. When I was a little kid, actually, I was a child actor, and
Of course, what's
My
the
dad
real
being
kid
an
doing
actor,
now, though? Like, I
who
mean,
knows?
Yeah, like did he have a career? I don't know.
but the story is my dad being an actor, would get me parts for television shows, myself and my sister. And so one day he came home and he's like, "Oh, we got this part for you to learn. It's called The Shining," and I had no idea. I was only 7 or 8 years old at the time, so I started learning, memorizing these lines. And I remember like sitting in the mirror, talking with my finger, and like memorizing all the lines and all that stuff. And then one day he came home and he's like, "Oh, don't worry about remembering that
Forget about
anymore
that
because
thing.
they scrapped the cast and they're moving it elsewhere." And so, I just forgot about it for a while, being a kid. Like, okay, I don't have to do this work now. Great, And I was probably about 15 or so when it finally dawned on me, like, what this meant. So,
Oh wait, that was The Shining.
yeah, I was like, oh, shit, Stephen King, Jack Nicholson, Stanley Kubrick.